Candace Owens did an amazing investigation into Kamala Harris's background. Candace was able to get her hands on Kamala Harris's birth certificate and family tree. Let's jump right into the video.
Has anybody really investigated Kamala Harris's genealogy? Like, we just keep being told she's black suddenly, and the media keeps overreacting when people say she's not black. And I can't find any evidence that Kamala Harris is black. So I said, I'm going to pause everything and do a deep dive on Kamala Harris's genealogy. And what I discovered is so shocking, okay? So first, let's start with just Kamala Harris's birth certificate. This is it. This is an authentic copy of it. It's already been discussed. You can see in the corner that we have highlighted on her mother, her mother's name is an Indian name, Shailamala Gopalan, and under color or race of mother, her mother has put Caucasian, extremely controversial, but we don't need to focus on the mother, because the mother, everyone accepts the mother is not black at all, right? So if she's some part Caucasian, majority Indian, everyone accepts that the mother is not the claim to her black heritage, it is the father. On the bottom there, you can see that it says that her father's name is Donald Jasper Harris, and that the color or the race of the father is listed as Jamaican, okay? So you can be Jamaican, you can grow up in Jamaica and not be black, obviously. It's like Elon Musk, like he was born and raised in Africa. It would be absurd for Elon Musk to say that he was black, because he is not black. He is a white African. So I wanted to go further into Donald Jasper Harris, allegedly born in Jamaica in 1938. He has indicated that someone in his family is black. So who are his parents, okay? So this is Kamala's dad, Donald Harris. We're looking now into Kamala's grandparents. The grandparents' names are Beryl Christie Finnegan Harris and Oscar Joseph Brown Harris. So let's start with Beryl. Let's start with her grandmother. This is an alleged photo of Beryl Christie Harris, okay? It is the only one that exists in the public domain, and I want you guys to know that it was presented by Kamala herself. I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, like, where did this photo come from? Actually, Kamala is the one that entered this into the public domain in her book, which is entitled The Truths We Hold, which was published in 2019. So looking at this woman, she looks black, and she wrote, visiting my paternal grandmother, Beryl, in Jamaica, okay? Now, when I saw this, I assumed it was a fake photo, and I assumed that somebody had put it up other than Kamala, because just doing a very brief search, and then I quadruple checked this across multiple websites, genealogy websites, and genealogists, that can't be Kamala's grandmother. Just pull up a picture of her again. That can't be Kamala's grandmother, because at least according to my research, Grandma Beryl died before Kamala was born. And I want the internet to fact check this with me. This is wild, okay? Beryl was born in 1921, and she died in 1960. Okay, I've checked grave sites everywhere. This is it's not exactly a very common name, and not an exactly very common place, specifically where she was born, St. Anne's Parish in Jamaica. That would mean that Beryl had Kamala's father when she was just 17 years old in 1938, and she died when she was just 39 years old. The black woman in that photo is not 39 years old. So this is amazing.
So let this sink in. This photo was submitted by Kamala Harris for her book. This wasn't somebody else that made an error. This is Kamala Harris intentionally lying about who her grandmother actually is. You can't pass the buck. This is the photo that Kamala Harris submitted for her book. Kamala Harris, she lies about everything. She lies about working at McDonald's. She lies that she wants to fix the border. She lies that the economy is fine. She lies that crime's down in the street. Her entire career is a lie. And she even lies about who her grandmother is. I'm not surprised at all.
Major discrepancy, okay? And this is just a tiny bit of digging. I went, wait a second. Does anybody realize that, like, Beryl allegedly died when she was 39 years old in 1960? That means that Kamala would have been born 4 years after her grandmother died in 1964. 1964 is when Kamala was born. Her grandmother died in 1960. So who is that woman that is in the photo with Kamala, okay? Beryl Finnegan, now looking more into her grandmother.
And you hear the name Finnegan. There's been books written how the elite are all related to each other. Joe Biden comes from a family of Finnegans, and now so does Kamala Harris. I don't think it's a coincidence whatsoever. I think all those books are accurate, and I think that the families that really do run America, they want to maintain power no matter what, keep it in those families, and that's why they hate Donald Trump, and he's such a threat to democracy.
Was definitively not black. Now, how do we know this? Because Beryl, that woman that you just saw, her father was Patrick Alhanasus Finnegan, who was an Irish slaver. Okay? So that woman that you just saw, at a bare minimum, has to be half white. An Irish slaver is who her father was. Doesn't look like that. Maybe that Irish slaver married a super duper black woman. I don't know, but I know that that is not a picture of Beryl, and I know that Beryl is at a minimum half white, okay? Because the father was an Irish slaver. Now, what about Kamala's grandfather, the other side of this, Oscar Joseph Brown?
So did you just hear that? Kamala Harris comes from an Irish family who are super wealthy and gain their wealth by owning and selling slaves. You know who the one president of the United States is whose family has never had anything to do with slavery, owning slaves, selling slaves, trading slaves? That's Donald Trump's family. And yes, that does include Barack Obama. It's been proven that Barack Obama's family was involved in the slave trade. But who's the racist again? Who do they call Hitler? Donald Trump. This story is so ironic.
Harris is his name. That's allegedly who Beryl married, right? Okay. What I've learned about him, this is the photo that they have produced of him. That's supposed to be her grandfather. What I've learned about Oscar was that he was born in 1914. Brown was his mother's maiden name. His mother was a woman named Christiana Brown, who was known as Miss Chrissy. Christiana Brown's father was also a white Irish slave trader named Colonel Hamilton Brown.
Wow.
That is the white Irish slave trader named Colonel Brown. He married an indentured servant, an Irish woman named Kate Williams, presumably Catherine Williams. And let me tell you how wealthy her family was. Colonel Hamilton established the town that they lived in. It was called Hamilton Town. It's now called Browntown. And he owned, at a minimum, 1,120 slaves, according to records. Okay?
So let this sink in. This whole manufactured story about Kamala Harris being this, black female that grew up in middle class to low class, who worked at McDonald's and, grew up in an apartment above a laundromat. This is what Democrats are projecting her as. They're trying to sell this story to the American working public. But the truth is, Kamala Harris comes from a super wealthy family who passed down generational wealth through the years and centuries and decades to her family by owning slaves and trading them. That's how Kamala Harris's family gained their wealth. I mean, if the media actually did their job, this would blow that entire made-up story, her cover story, out of the water. Could you imagine, what would Kamala Harris have to run on at this point? If Kamala Harris told the truth about her background, she'd be like, hi, I'm Kamala Harris, and I'm Irish for the most part, and I come from a rich Irish family that owned and sold and traded slaves. I don't think that'd be a good campaign pitch. So what do Democrats do? They manufacture this whole, middle-class, hardworking Kamala story that she worked at McDonald's, working her way up through the ranks through politics. Meanwhile, McDonald's came out and said that Kamala Harris never worked there. Go figure.
Okay. So they were a family of wealthy Irish slave traders. But now let's go back to that photo again. Who is this with Kamala Harris that is wrongly assumed to be her grandmother? Again, you guys can fact check me. I was going, this is just weird. Had nobody noticed this? Well, that woman...
I got to say this again. Kamala Harris comes from a wealthy Irish family of slave traders. Let that sink in. Let that sink in your mind.
Looks an awful lot of somebody that we are told is Kamala's great-grandmother, okay? A woman named Ora Iris Finnegan Allen. See, that face looks just like the woman that we just saw, but slightly older. And let's go back again to that photo of the Beryl, who's definitely not Beryl, okay? And let's go forward here so you guys can get this in your head. That looks like the same woman to me, okay? But this woman is allegedly her great-grandmother, who is known as Miss Iris, okay? So pull up Miss Iris again, the great-grandmother who Kamala is allegedly on her lap. We can all agree that that woman looks to be at least some percentage black, and it's about to get weird, okay? So first, just so we are clear, this woman
I think we're already there.
100% black. That would make Kamala majority Irish white. She would be majority white. So it's completely crazy that
I'm really over the racial ethnicity of Kamala Harris. The craziest thing about this story is, again, she comes from a wealthy family of slave owners and slave traders, but the Democratic crime machine wants to package Kamala Harris as this hardworking, middle-class, struggling, she was from a struggling family that grew up in an apartment above a laundromat, and she's here to give hope to the working class of America, only to find out she comes from a super rich family who gained their wealth through the slave trade.
She would suddenly claw out and pretend that she's black, okay? If she was 100%, that woman, great-grandmother, if she was 100% black, that would make Kamala 12% black under a best-case scenario. But I thought, okay, that's Miss Iris. She's saying that's her great-grandmother. Let me, verify that Miss Iris was fully black. And a way to do that would be to take a look at Miss Iris's children, Now, to be clear, she allegedly had 4 children. So we have Kamala's missing grandmother, Beryl, who allegedly died at the age of 39, as well as some of Kamala's great uncles and great aunts. And their names were Abraham Judah Finnegan, Noel Finnegan, and Bernard Finnegan, okay? So Beryl, the missing grandma, has 3 siblings: Abraham, Judah Finnegan, Noel Finnegan, and Bernard Finnegan. All of these people...
Again, the name Finnegan is very important. Joe Biden comes from a family of Finnegans. The elite, there's been multiple books written on this, that all the elite are related somehow. I do not think it's a coincidence that Kamala Harris comes from a family of Finnegans, and so does Joe Biden.
People have apparently evaporated into thin air. Literally cannot find a single trace of these people who definitely do not have black names, okay? And I'm just going, I just want to see a picture here. So I'm going to put a bounty on it. I would like someone to do a little bit of due diligence here. Find me Beryl Finnegan and Beryl's 3 siblings, okay? A photo, anything, $1,000. You email it to info@CandaceOwens.com, because I am telling you, something is not right.
Of course.
Here. How did nobody realize that Beryl died in 1960 and Kamala, in her book, published a photo of a grandparent?
They did the same thing with Barack Obama, the elites. Barack Obama's real name is Barry Soetoro. And they came up with the name Barack Obama because they felt that it would be more appealing to American black people. Because the name Barry Soetoro, you're like, is this a foreign name? You can't really tell what it is. Barack Hussein Obama sounds more black American. They manufactured the name Barack Obama. That's not Barack Obama's real name. And they're manufacturing a story for Kamala Harris. Again, what is she going to run on if she tells the truth? Hi, I'm Kamala Harris. And, I'm 90% Irish, and I come from a rich Irish family that owned and sold slaves. This story is incredible. This should be on every news station, playing over and over and over again. And of course, Candace Owens will be the only one covering it. Because let me tell you something. If it was proven that Donald Trump's family owned slaves, he would be finished. He would be finished. And I'll say it again. They did the genealogy of every president and vice president. The only president and family never to own slaves or have something to do with slavery is Donald Trump and his family.
Who she wasn't alive to meet, okay? Where is the real Beryl? Like a photo of Beryl, a photo of any of Beryl's siblings, literally disappeared without a trace. This is the only reason, okay, that people are convinced that Kamala must have some black in her family is because of these alleged relatives. And it's just ironic because her family is extraordinarily Irish white, extraordinarily wealthy slave owners, owning descendants. And the only reason we have this image in our head, like
because we're being told
suddenly she was black, is because Kamala's father in 2020, just after Kamala published that photo in her book, Kamala's father in 2020 similarly decided to publish an essay entitled Reflections of a Jamaican Father, where he only included in all of his white Irish slave-owning family, he only decided to include a photo of Miss Iris and Miss Chrissy, who look like the same person to me. Why would he do that? We've got a big old family, got a ton of wealth, everyone's got a slave. Why did you decide in 2020 to publish a photo of these two women, just like Kamala did in her book? I've got question marks. I don't know how it's possible that every time we are electing someone to office, they have a very shady family background, and hers is extremely shady. By the way, Finnegan, there are tons of Finnegans, okay? So I'm not putting two and two together here, but that also is Joe Biden's family.
I'm putting it together. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Family, Finnegans and her family. I wonder if there's a little bit of cross-contamination. Could be, could not be. Like I said, it's a popular last name, but there's something weird here, okay? Beryl and siblings, huge question mark. I don't know. Abraham Judah does not sound to me like the blackest person in the world. And I'm going to need you guys to get on it, internet. $1,000 bounty. Email it to info@CandaceOwens.com, especially if you're in Jamaica. Like, we got to be able to find something here. Like, these siblings just disappeared into thin air. Where's great aunt and great uncle? Where's your great uncle? All right, guys, I'm going to pause there and tell you that
her father did that intentionally, and so did Kamala. So it helps the Democratic crime machine sell. They're trying to sell her to the American public. Oh, middle class, struggling Kamala, who grew up in LA and, whose family grew up in an apartment over a laundromat, and she worked her way through politics by working at McDonald's. It's all a lie. She comes from an Irish family, predominantly Irish family, 95% Irish, who owned and sold slaves. So she can't run on that. So they concoct this whole entire story to sell to the American public. Am I surprised? I'm not surprised one bit. You know what I'm mad about? This story that Candace Owens discovered should be on every single news station 24 hours a day. I've said my piece.